Alright guys, welcome to the Wrestling Angle. I am Chad Z, and we are here tonight to talk about Raw leading up to FastLane. So tonight's show was a pretty good show. Before the show started, they were hyping the fact that the Hurt Business were going to defend the Raw Tag Team titles against the New Day, and that Riddle was going to defend his United States title against Mustafa Ali. And then at the beginning of the show, they hyped up the fact that Asuka was coming back. So, which is good to see her back, just in time for FastLane. Although, I don't think she has a match at FastLane. I may be wrong on that. But they did review all the matches for this coming Sunday, and we'll go through those later on in the show. So, first of all, the show kicked off with Drew McIntyre coming to the ring, and we found out that Bobby Lashley is going to defend the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre, which is what we thought all along. I actually think that somewhere along the line, I think that Sheamus may be entered or inserted into this match, but I may be wrong on that. I take that back. It wasn't Drew McIntyre that started off the show. It was Lashley and MVP. And I'll tell you what. And on a side note to Lashley being WWE champion, man, that guy looks like a champion when he walks to the ring. He's dressed to the nines. He was wearing a purple suit, and it just looked really good with the belt. And MVP came out wearing his normal suits, and I think somewhere down the line that Bobby Lashley is probably going to turn babyface and leave the Hurt Business, because as we'll see later on in the show, that something happened that may bring the Hurt Business down. So they talk about the Almighty Era, and then he says that he's going to basically destroy Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. The Miz and Morrison come out, and I don't know what was going on with Morrison's hair tonight, but it looked kind of goofy. But actually, he kind of looked like his wife, the way she wears her hair in the ring. But that's that. So anyways, they come out, and Miz said he was honored to share the ring with Lashley, and that he talked about other great feuds like Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels, Hogan versus Andre, and The Rock versus Steve Austin. They were doing Steve Austin, kind of like Steve Austin promos through the whole night, because it is Steve Austin week, and tomorrow being 3/16, it's a big deal in wrestling fans' eyes because of Austin 3/16. But it's kind of like the wrestling fans' holiday. So, the Miz says to Lashley that he wants to face. Why would he want to face McIntyre when he can face me or the Miz at WrestleMania? McIntyre basically interrupted. He walked right by The Miz and Morrison. He didn't even look at him. And basically gets in the ring and just tells Bobby that, both of them have worked hard to get where they're at. And both of them left the WWE, went to other promotions, have worked the indies. Although I don't know if Bobby Lashley has worked the indies or not. He has worked MMA, but not the indies. And, the difference between the two is that McIntyre won the Royal Rumble and beat Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes. And then Lashley made a deal to basically screw him over for the title. MVP, I don't know why I keep calling him MVT. It's MVP. And he basically tells McIntyre that he's got to face Sheamus first at FastLane. And then McIntyre says, well, they're gonna throw arms at FastLane. They're gonna beat the hell out of each other, and then he's gonna move on to WrestleMania and basically beat Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. So, to be perfectly honest with you, with this promo, it went way too long. There's another thing on the show that went way too long. We'll get to that too. But all in all, other than the promo going way too long, a good way to start off the show and basically lead into what's going to happen at FastLane and WrestleMania. So, then we get the first match of the night, which is Drew McIntyre going up against The Miz. He defeated The Miz. The match went about 11 minutes. And then they had an announcement that I just don't get it. I don't know why this guy's even on the show, but they had an announcement that Bad Bunny on winning a Grammy for Best Latin Pop Album. And he's shown walking in the back with Damian Priest. And then we get the Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon segment. And these two are going to end up facing each other at, I don't know, they actually announced it for FastLane, but I really thought it was going to be WrestleMania. But they're going to face each other at FastLane. I didn't like this segment at all. And let me tell you the reason why. For one, a person that, like myself, who has been basically picked on for through my childhood, calling someone stupid, even though it's an entertainment show, it really shouldn't be done. It brings back bad memories for myself, and I'm sure it's brought bad memories back for other viewers too. So basically what Strowman says is that, he's dealt with people like Shane his entire life, where he says that he's bullied. He was bullied and they call him stupid and all that type of stuff. And basically it's just meant to set up a match for later in the night between Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman. And we'll talk about what happens during that a little bit later. And then we get R-Truth, who spent the majority of the night mimicking Stone Cold. He was dressed up in a Stone Cold vest. At one time, he had the 316 belt on there. He was drinking a Stone Cold beer and all that good stuff. And he ends up approaching Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, Lana, and Naomi. And they're set to have a match next. And he offers the girls a beer, and one of the girls says, "We have a match, Truth. We can't drink." So so that basically sets up the next match, which is Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Lana and Naomi. And a nice touch that I liked for this match was the fact that Naomi and Lana came out dressed in similar attire. They had the glow. It was a really good presentation of the fact that they're an actual tag team. And anybody that's watched my shows knows that I'm a huge tag team guy, and I don't like the fact when they take two singles wrestlers and put them in a tag team. They should be coming out dressed similar and all that type of stuff. So, like, for example, the tag team champions right now, those are two single wrestlers, the women's tag team champions, meaning Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. So, I mean, they're just two people put together to hold the tag team belts. So, Nia Jax and Shayna come out, and they're on commentary. And basically, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, it was a really good back and forth match. They defeated Lana and Naomi. Asuka's music hits, and then all of a sudden, Shayna tells Nia, "Hold my belt," and she goes to attack Asuka, and she gets taken down on the rampway. So, yeah, I want to welcome in Franchise. What's up, buddy? How are you? So that was the. So then and then we go on into the back, and then we got Riddle approached Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, who are set to have a tag team title match with the Hurt Business tonight. And he's on his scooter, Riddle, meaning he's on a scooter. And I'm talking about Raw. I'm doing a recap of Raw, tonight's show. They're set to have a pay-per-view this coming Sunday, and this is the go-home show to that pay-per-view. So they're setting up a bunch of matches. So the second hour begins with the Tag Team Championship match, and I like the finish to it. The New Day came out wearing some pretty cool Mortal Kombat gear, which was really neat. Both those guys are huge video game guys, and Xavier Woods also works for G4. So, yeah, I get you. Raw's WWE is generally, it's not written very well. Let's put it that way. If you like really good wrestling, you should be watching New Japan. If you want to watch storylines, then you probably want to watch WWE. AEW right now doesn't have too many good storylines going on right now, but I like the promotion. I mean, I watch it every week, obviously. But I'm a huge New Japan fan. I love New Japan right now, and what they're doing with the New Japan Cup. So I get you on that one. So we had a pretty good back and forth match to the Raw tag team titles, and a lot of good tag team maneuvers. And Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods ended up winning the tag team titles, and they beat Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. And then at the end of the match, which I thought was a little weird, but it makes sense that AJ Styles and Omos, they enter the ring, and they challenged the New Day to a match at WrestleMania. Now, um, AJ Styles has the potential to carry this match, but they now have 4 weeks, and I'm sure he's been training all along, but they now have 4 weeks to train this guy, Omos, who is basically been a bodyguard for AJ Styles. So I would expect probably the New Day to retain the belts at Mania. If they don't lose them before then, they probably won't. Considering the next show is FastLane, and I don't believe they have a tag team title match there. But so they have 4 weeks to train, almost, and we'll see. We'll see what happens when that match comes up. Hey, I got 4 viewers right now, which is great. I love it. If you guys want to jump in the chat, and we can talk wrestling while I recap the show for tonight. That would be cool. And if you like the show, shoot me a follow on Twitch. That'd be great. So then we get in the back. We get Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, and they're approached by Miz and Morrison. And basically, this is just to set up the match that they're going to have at WrestleMania. So after tonight, I really don't want to see Bad Bunny in the ring. And we'll get to that during the Damian Priest match. But during that segment, you know what, franchise? I'm planning on doing. I want to get some of the local wrestlers that I have a local indie promotion that that wrestles. These guys wrestle, and one of the guys, Matt Johnson, who was Matt Milan. He's actually the guy that designed my logo, and he's a former wrestler. So I'm hoping to possibly have him on, and then I have a buddy of mine that wrestles too. I have another buddy of mine that does the show with me too. We did a Royal Rumble show, and we're going to be doing a WrestleMania show. Yeah, that'd be cool. I have no problem with that. If you want to jump in one of these times, we can plan it, and we can do it on Zoom or whatever. But we can do it. We can do it right here on chat, or not chat. We can do it right here on stream. So we got Truth. He walked up from behind, looking like he was going to hit Bad Bunny in the back of the head with his metal box, and he actually convinces Bad Bunny to give him the 24/7 title, and which I thought was kind of funny. He actually gave Bad Bunny, in exchange, he gave him the Stone Cold Broken Skull title. So, which I think is a better looking belt. On a side note, it's a better looking belt, and it doesn't look like a kid designed it. And a matter of fact, the 24/7 belt, a little bit of trivia, a kid did design the belt. So that's why they have it. So that was the end of that, and then we got The next match was Damian Priest with Bad Bunny versus Jackson Riker with Elias. This match only lasted 35 seconds, and Damian Priest does a move similar to what Cody Rhodes does in AEW. I can't think of the name of it, but he calls it the Broken Arrow. And then basically what was this was for was to set the matchup for WrestleMania between Damian Priest, Bad Bunny, Miz, and Morrison. Because the Miz came in and attacked Bad Bunny with Elias's guitar. So, they showed an ad for NXT, but there was no matches announced. I don't know if anybody saw this, but NXT, a little bit of news, NXT has had an outbreak of COVID down there, and a lot of the stars that are generally on every week have caught it. They haven't really named names. They're trying to keep it private, but it's going to be interesting to see how they write that show. And it couldn't come at a worse time because, they're pretty much going to move the show to Tuesday nights. It hasn't been announced yet, but they're probably going to move them because of what was said to be because of NHL Wednesday Night Hockey. But NHL has since signed with ESPN, and now that puts a nix in the plans for moving. Personally, I would like to see NXT move to Thursdays because they'll be unopposed, and unless AEW, when they decide to put their fourth show on, it goes to Thursday nights. And I'll talk a little bit about AEW a little bit later on too, because I did watch the brand new show tonight, and I really liked what I saw. I watched some of it, I should say, not all of it. Next up, we got Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman, and the match didn't take place because Shane was stalling outside by doing push-ups and all that garbage, and so Strowman ended up going out against Shane, and Shane ended up hitting Strowman with the cameraman's camera, which completely busted apart. And he got Strowman down and laid him out on a table, and then ended up doing an elbow through the table off the top rope. And then after that, what he did is he poured green paint all over Strowman. And my daughter brought up a good point, was that back in the summer when he was facing, I think it was Miz and Morrison, and they played a prank on him, and it was supposed to be green paint that hit him, but it actually hit Caleb Braxton by mistake. So this is a little bit of payback with the green paint. I don't know why they choose green. Maybe because it looks like slime. I have no idea, but the effect was pretty good. I mean, he ended up dumping 2 buckets of it on him and got him covered. When he actually got up, the paint was just dripping off his beard. And it was a really cool special effect. But that's to set up the match that they're going to have, I believe, at FastLane. And then we got a coming soon thing for Rhea Ripley. You're probably not going to see her until after WrestleMania. This is what they used to do back in the day when they'd have vignettes for the wrestlers. And coming soon, they would do it for like a month, month and a half, and then that wrestler would finally make his debut, and it would be this huge thing. And then we got the Alexa Bliss segment, and basically she was wearing her general outfit that she wears, and her eyes were completely white with a glowing center. Looked really cool. My daughter said that it looked really creepy, but it really put on a good effect for it. And basically, what ended up happening is Alexa Bliss challenged Randy Orton to a match at FastLane. Now, this is probably the best thing that they have going on right now on Raw, storyline wise, because we're going to eventually get the Fiend coming back, and I think he's going to come back in a different form, which is going to be kind of cool. But I really like the fact that Alexa Bliss is with the Fiend. So, and but it was a really good segment. And we got the third hour started. They replayed the clip of Shane Helms, or Hurricane, telling Molly Holly that she's going to be inducted in the Hall of Fame this year. So we got that video played on SmackDown Friday night, but it was really cool seeing her get told again, and it's really well deserved. I mean, Molly Holly's been around a long time. She was there during the Attitude Era. She worked in WCW under the name Miss Madness with Macho Man Randy Savage. And so I mean, it's really well deserved, and she was really a forefront runner in the women's division with Lita and Trish and Victoria and all that. So I like the fact that she's going in this year. So, and this year's Hall of Fame is going to be exclusively on the Peacock Network, which we were told. And not only are they going to be inducting the 2021 class, who they haven't announced anybody other than Molly Holly, but they're also going to be inducting the 2020 class, which is really cool because one of the people getting inducted is two of the people. One's Batista, and another one is Davey Boy Smith. So, and then Davey Boy Smith Jr., or Harry Smith, is rumored to be starting back with the WWE. He really needs to go to NXT though. Although he could work the main roster right now, and he could probably outwork half the guys on that roster. So next up we get the Raw Women's Champion going up against Shayna Baszler with Nia Jax. It's actually a non-title match. Asuka ended up defeating Shayna, and they kept teasing the fact that Asuka lost her tooth 2 weeks ago, so that's why she hasn't been on Raw. And you can tell Asuka, she was selling the fact that she was holding her mouth, and the referee kept asking her if she was okay and all that. A really good match. And then she ended up drop kicking Nia Jax, and she hit the floor, and it was kind of funny. But and she ended up Asuka ended up getting Shayna. She knocked her mouth guard out and hit her on the exposed turnbuckle during the match. So And then the announcers ran down the card for FastLane, and two of the matches that were announced were Shane versus Strowman and McIntyre versus Sheamus. So, next up we got Riddle versus Mustafa Ali, and he ended up defeating Mustafa Ali to retain the U.S. Championship. It was an okay match. You can tell that they are teasing the fact that Retribution is going to break up. And I really thought that they were going to take out Mustafa tonight. But they're still teasing the fact that they're a group, even though they've done nothing but lose. So talk about something that started off real strong, meaning Retribution, and just kind of fizzled out. And you know what, too? My big problem, and I've stated it in the past with Retribution, is the fact that they're all wearing those masks. You know, we know one of the guys is Dominic Divakovic. We know the other, Mia Yim. I can't remember who the other guy is, and then the other guy that wears the hockey mask was in NXT. So it's not going anywhere, and they just need to either break the gimmick up, repackage all these guys, or they could have Divakovic and the other guy be a tag team, because they would. Thanks for that follow, Matt. Appreciate that. I don't understand why my alerts aren't working though. Do I not have them on? Alert box. Oh, I got them on. Yep. Okay. Anyways, thanks for that follow, Matt. I appreciate it. So then we got Sarah Schreiber in the back, and she is interviewing Randy Orton, and she asks Randy Orton if he's going to accept Alexa Bliss's one-on-one match, and he basically said he's going to accept it, and he's going to kick her right out of his life. So I would expect that The Fiend would appear this coming Sunday at FastLane, because Randy Orton's set to have a match against The Fiend. And I hope that it is a cinematic match, not a match that takes place in the ring. Let's do a cinematic match like they did for Undertaker last year. And because they did a really nice job with that, and Jeremy Borash is actually the one that produced that, and he's a producer for WWE, and so I hope it's a cinematic match. And then we get a Drew McIntyre promo. He's still in his gear. He says that he is going to sit out and watch the match that Lashley has against Sheamus, which happens to be a non-title match. And he joked that he dresses this way normally, and it saves on shirts and underwear. So, which was kind of a funny line. But so we got Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus next. And this was a real hard-hitting match. I listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts, obviously. And I believe it was on Something to Wrestle With. And Bruce Pritchard said that Sheamus loves to get hit. And and he was surprised that this guy wasn't a boxer when he grew up, instead of being a wrestler, being a boxer, because he loves to get hit. And you can tell that he was telling Lashley to lay him in, and he was doing the same thing. He was laying him into Lashley, and basically this was just two hosses going at it, and it was a really good match too. Until well, the match actually went about 17 minutes, so and Lashley ended up hit a clean finish on Sheamus when he hits him with the spear. I actually, looking back at this match, I probably would have done a DQ, only because it kind of makes Sheamus look weak going into the pay-per-view. And but I mean, that's just my opinion. I may be completely wrong on that, but I would have loved to have seen a DQ here rather than a clean pin. But he ended up putting Sheamus in the Hurt Lock, and McIntyre came into the ring and basically cleared them all out. I don't know if I said this earlier on in the show, but I really think that we're going to see the Hurt Business break up. And I think we're probably going to continue to see MVP managing Bobby Lashley. If he doesn't manage him, we'll probably see Lashley turn babyface, although he makes a better heel. So, and I would imagine that Drew McIntyre is probably going to walk out with the WWE belt at WrestleMania. So, all in all, it was a pretty good show tonight. It went up against the new AEW show for an hour. That show actually started at 6 o'clock, and maybe I was just watching it late, but I thought it ran into Raw. I thought they were originally going to have it start at 6 and only go 2 hours, but it actually ran into Raw. So, like I said, all in all, a good show for WWE going into FastLane. They have a tendency to not have good shows, go-home shows, going into their pay-per-views, but they did a really nice job on tonight. So, let me see. Let me see if I can find the... I guess they don't have the matches. They did announce all the matches for FastLane, but I don't see them here. Let me see if they have this. Oh, here we go. Alright, so here's the updated card for FastLane. So we got Universal Champion Roman Reigns. He goes up against Daniel Bryan. And we'll find out this coming Friday if who's going to be the special enforcer on the outside when Edge faces Jey Uso. We're going to get Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus. We're going to get Women's Tag Team Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. They're going to go up against SmackDown Women's Champion Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. And we're going to get Intercontinental Champion Big E versus Apollo Crews, which is a match I'm really looking forward to. I like what they're doing with Apollo Crews, other than the fake accent that he has. But I like what they're doing. And I could have swore they announced. I guess they're not. They're not going to have Braun Strowman versus Shane. I guess they're gonna keep that for WrestleMania. Which I think they need. I think they need a couple more weeks to build up that feud. Although I don't really like the way what they're doing with the bullying tactics. You got enough of that crap going on in the real world. You don't need to see it in uh, fantasy land or fantasy world. You know, people watch this kind of stuff to escape the real world, and they don't need to see it in something that they watch and they enjoy. So that's just my opinion, and God knows I love giving my opinion. So, all right, so let's talk about. I'm going to talk about what I saw on the new AEW Dark. So AEW Dark Elevation. It looks like that it's it's going to be Tony Schiavone and Paul White. Which I'll say this: Big Show or Paul White hasn't done a lot of commentary in the past, but he did a really good job. As a matter of fact, I would like him to be on the other AEW Dark show and get Taz out of there, because all Taz does is bullshit around and make goofy comments about the wrestlers and all that. You're not there to get yourself over. You're there. The commentators are there to get the talent over in the ring. And when you're busting on people, it doesn't really do that. And for what I saw during the show, Paul White was doing a really good job getting the talent over. So we're just gonna go through. I'm gonna go through all the matches, and we'll talk about. I didn't watch all of them, but I know most of these indie wrestlers, and I can talk about that. So the first match we had was Jungle Boy, and he defeated Danny Limelight. Uh, they're doing a they're doing a really good job in pushing Jungle Boy as a single competitor. Um, and this is a good show to have him on, especially since it's the first show. So next up we got Miro and Kip Sabian versus Baron Black and Very Morales. This I didn't get to see this match, but Miro and Kip ended up defeating these guys. I don't know these two guys. I've never really seen them before. I'm gonna go back and watch the show and see, because what the show is basically meant to be is to get the younger talent, or to get them on TV so everybody recognizes who they are. So when they make it to basically the main show, we're not saying, okay, who the hell is this person? Um, I want to talk about something really quick too. Um, there was an issue going on with Miro, Kip Sabian, Penelope Ford, and Jim Cornette. And basically, Jim Cornette has said he basically called Penelope Ford a slut. Um, and Kip and Miro basically bought into the fact that they did exactly what Jim Cornette wanted them to do, and that was retaliate back through tweets. Jim Cornette basically saying that Miro is no talented, Kip Sabian and his slutty girlfriend Penelope Ford, they don't know how to work and all this type of stuff. So Jim Cornette does these type of things to get a reaction out of people. Penelope Ford actually shot back, which I thought was, good for her for standing up for herself, saying that Jim Cornette basically pimps his wife out and watches her having sex with other guys. And that's a rumor and innuendo. I don't know if that's true or not, but needless to say, Jim Cornette is really off the rails. And here's a guy that got himself fired from NWA because he made a comment, a racial comment, that he made back in the 80s when he was working for Jim Crockett Promotions. Well, back in the 80s, you could get away with that stuff. Now, with companies being publicly traded and out there for everybody to see, companies don't want a black eye like Jim Cornette on their show. Now, I'm a fan of Jim Cornette, the performer, as far as the manager. As far as his podcasts go, I've listened to his podcasts. I'm not a big fan of them because he has a tendency to ramble on, and he insults people, and the guy doesn't have any respect for women. He doesn't have any respect for the talent that is working today because he has the old school mentality. And there's nothing wrong with that. He can have the old school mentality. But you're not working for a current wrestling promotion. The last time he worked for a promotion was the NWA. The last time he booked a promotion was for Ring of Honor. And he didn't last that long there because he was booking the promotion like it was an old school territory, and you just can't do that. Wrestling today is hotshot angles. The guys do their flippity floppity moves in the ring, and that's fine. I'm an old school fan. I like to see old school style wrestling, but I like to see the new stuff too. You know what I mean? And Jim Cornette has just basically closed his mind to what happens in the wrestling world today and makes these comments to get viewers for his podcasts. The guy that he has as his host, Brian Last, I think is a complete idiot. And he just kind of buys in and he eggs Jim Cornette on. So, great job for Jim Cornette. Let's get him some claps. I'm sure he's going to get himself 4 more viewers on his podcast or 4 more subscribers for making a big deal about, calling Penelope Ford a slut, which is uncalled for. And I think what Jim Cornette needs to do is stick to doing his podcasts and stay off Twitter, because just like the president of the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, he's probably tweeting at 5 a.m. in the morning why he's shitting, and that's a quote that came directly from Donald Trump himself. And stay off of Twitter. We've got enough hate in this world, and we don't need guys like Jim Cornette causing more problems. If you're gonna continue to do what you're doing, stick to your podcasts and stay off social media. And that's all I really got to say about that. So, let's see. The one match that I did get to see is Tay Conte with -1, and she went up against Ashley Vox. And Ashley Vox is a star from the NWA. And I'm not too sure if she's still under contract, but they are starting back up. They're having their first pay-per-view this coming Saturday. And I'd be interested to see if Ashley Vox is on there. But this was a good back and forth match. It was really, really well done. And it really got the up and coming talent over. And I think this is what this show is supposed to be. Because I was in and out watching it and that type of stuff. And I think that's what this show is supposed to be. So, next up we got Matt and Mike Sydal. They defeated Joel Nelson and Royce Isaacs. Royce Isaacs is a former NWA Tag Team Champion with Camille Brickhouse's boyfriend. I can't think of his name, but so he's a former NWA Tag Team Champion. They didn't say that on the show, which they probably should, but they did push the fact that Joel Nelson and Royce Isaacs are best friends outside of wrestling. So we got Red Velvet. She defeated Danny Jordan. We got Platinum Max Caster. He defeated Dante Martin. I heard some things on Twitter about this, and they said that the match wasn't all that great. I don't like Max Caster as a singles guy. So let's hope his tag team partner comes back quickly, because this is an opportunity for Max Caster to get himself over as a singles competitor, and he just doesn't have it. And that's probably why he's probably going to be used for this show in Dark, while his tag team partner is out, injured, and not on the main show. So, which I'm okay with. I'm going to give the guy a break and say that he needs to just get seasoned and, wrestle a little bit more as a singles guy. Next match was Abandon versus Ray Lynn. The guys at Close Fist, who do a recap show for AEW, Big Sean actually put out a message through Close Fist Facebook page that Ray Lynn was somebody to watch. She reminded me a lot of Candice LeRae, and not just because of the gear that she was wearing, but she used a lot of Candice's moves too. The only problem with this match was that she didn't get a lot of offense in at all. And I just gotta say this: Abandon is a creepy ass character. I don't like her. I mean, I just don't like the character. I mean, she's a great wrestler, but I just don't like the character. It's creepy as all hell. We got Powerhouse Hobbs with Hook. He defeated Brandon Cutler. I don't like the fact that Hook is coming out as a second. If this kid is training, I don't care whose dad he is. He's Taz's son. The kid should be staying in the back. And they're doing the -1 gimmick for Brody Lee's kid to honor his dad. We don't need Hook out there, who's training to be a wrestler, hasn't done any wrestling since I don't even know if he signed by AEW, but he's training and he doesn't need to be out there. So he has no reason to be out there. We got Diamante. She went up against Layla Gray. She ended up defeating her. We got the Butcher and the Blade and the Private Party with Bunny and Matt Hardy. They defeated Dean Alexander, Carly Bravo, Brick Aldridge, and David Ali. The Butcher and the Blade are Buffalo Boys, along with the Bunny. They're the Buffalo Kids. They're Western New York natives, and I love the fact that they're on. They got signed to AEW because Pepper Parks, or the Blade, he's been around the wrestling business for quite some time, and he's finally got his big break. It started in TNA, and it just has gone up. And when ESW starts running shows again, which is the local promotion here in Western New York, I hope those guys are able to come back and wrestle, because I'd love to see them again. We had Matt Sydal went up against Michael Nakazawa. He defeated him. And then what we got was the main event. Rio versus, I'm gonna butcher this name, and Gary's gonna watch this show and he's gonna tell me. It's Mikai Atoe. And so Rio ended up defeating her. So, all in all, what I saw was a good show. I really like the chemistry that Tony Schiavone and Paul White have, and the fact that Paul White is out there to basically get the talent over. So, unlike Taz, who just goofs on him. So, other than that, I mean, I don't know. They could probably cut it down to less than 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. But it's a nice lead in to Raw, and it gives that person who doesn't want to watch Raw, gives them some other wrestling to watch. So that's that. Let's see. Looks like we're going to have an AEW World Championship Eliminator match on March 24th, which is the day after my birthday. On AEW Dynamite, we're going to get Kenny Omega with Don Callis versus Matt Sydal with his brother Mike Sydal. So that's pretty cool. And then as we probably saw some of the news over the weekend, Impact had their Sacrifice pay-per-view, and Rich Swann ended up unifying the TNA and Impact World Championships. So he is set to face Kenny Omega for the AEW title on Impact's next pay-per-view, because AEW's next pay-per-view is not until May. So we can look to see what that's gonna happen. And another thing coming out of the pay-per-view was David Finlay and Juice Robinson ended up beating the Good Brothers for the World Tag Team belts. I cannot put over David Finlay any more than what I've done. This guy is a phenomenal worker. He has started out as a young boy over in New Japan and has just risen to the top of the roster. And he is doing very well in the New Japan Cup that New Japan is having over in Japan, obviously. They're also having one over here in the U.S. on New Japan Strong. That whoever wins the New Japan Cup gets a shot at Ibushi for the unified world heavyweight title for New Japan. Whoever wins the U.S. side of the tournament gets a U.S. championship match, which I'm assuming would be against Jon Moxley because he's still United States champion. So, looks like Layla Hirsch has signed with AEW, so good for her. Those of you who don't know who Layla Hirsch is, she has appeared on Dark and Dynamite quite a bit, and she's doing kind of like an MMA gimmick. The only disadvantage that she really has is her size. She's kind of short, but that's okay because she's basically a former MMA fighter, and her nickname is Legit, so Legit Layla Hirsch. So good for her for signing with AEW, and let's hope some of these people that appeared on the new AEW Dark get signed to a contract. So although I would watch, if I was Tony Khan, I would watch how many people you sign, because you could have too many people on your roster and not enough storylines to go around for them. So that's just something I would keep my eye on. As we saw, Bad Bunny, he handed over the 24/7 title to R-Truth. I talked about that during my Raw recap. And then we're also going to get he's going to be debuting at WrestleMania in a match with AJ Styles against the New Day. So that ought to be interesting to see how that plays out. Let's see. Charlotte Flair has been announced that she's going to be starring in the new Walking Tall remake that was originally made in the 70s, remade by The Rock, and I guess we're gonna get a female version of Walking Tall, which is kind of cool. As I talked about earlier in my Raw recap, there's a COVID-19 outbreak, so that's going to basically affect Wednesday's show. So it'll be interested to see what happens and how they're going to address it. So, on a side note, you get a lot of fans talking about the Wednesday Night Wars. There is no such thing. There's enough wrestling to go around for everybody. The people that talk about the Wednesday in NXT are the people that want the Attitude Era to come back. The Attitude Era is not coming back, guys. The stuff that took place in the Attitude Era, get away with on TV. Correct? And it's just not coming back. So, and there is night wars. So to basically brag about the fact that they have totally demolished is way up. Yeah, you in the ratings, good for you. But if you want to take a look at the two shows, people are watching AEW because they want something different. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is good wrestling. If you want to watch a good show with good storylines, then you want to watch NXT. If you want to watch halfway decent wrestling and get maybe a 5-star bout here and there, a la Ray Phoenix, any match that he's had on AEW Dynamite, then you watch AEW. You know, but there is no Wednesday Night Wars. I'm sick and tired of seeing on Twitter people talking about how AEW has destroyed NXT in the Wednesday Night Wars. It's just not happening. And it doesn't mean if NXT decides to move nights, that doesn't mean AEW won. Because I know there's going to be fans out there that say, well, AEW, they destroyed NXT in the ratings, so that's why NXT tucked their tail between their legs and ran and moved to another night. No, it's not the case. They had planned on moving when the NHL deal was announced, and then the NHL found another provider. To be perfectly honest with you, USA is not the first place I would go to watch an NHL hockey game. Obviously, the better deal would be to have NHL hockey on ESPN, because ESPN is a sports-oriented network. So, bottom line. So, I know I got off on a tangent there, and I apologize, but excuse me, I get sick and tired of people comparing what's going on with NXT and AEW to what went on with WWE and WCW back in the day in the Monday Night Wars. I watched that entire situation take place. I lived through that, and this is nothing compared. I mean, there was a time where my buddies and I would go to a bar, and we would take up the entire back half of the bar, and if the bar had 2 TVs in the back, we would have one TV playing WWE and the other playing WCW. And you'd be surprised how many wrestling fans there were back then compared to than there is now. And wrestling became cool because they had a lot of stuff going on. The NWO, they had DX, and all the goofy stuff that they were doing, and really pushing the envelope. I mean, you can't compare what's going on today to what went on back then, and that comes from somebody that actually lived through that. So that's that. I can't put over New Japan any more than what I have. But if you are not watching New Japan and the New Japan Cup, you are missing out. There has been some phenomenal matches, and you can check out the results on my Facebook page, the Wrestling Angle 1. Or you can go on to New Japan's page, and they have the results on there too. I think that's pretty much it for tonight. We went a little bit over an hour and 15 minutes. I actually had some more viewers than I normally have. I appreciate Franchise for jumping into chat. and I have no problem having him on the show. If he wants to talk about wrestling, that's cool, and we can bounce ideas off each other. That would be great. Franchise also watches another streamer that I watch, and that's how we became familiar with each other. And that's a big community. I want to say this too. Not only is there a wrestling community out there, but there's a Twitch community, and there's a lot of cool people that are on Twitch right now. And there's a lot of bad people too. But I play a game called Call of the Wild, and there's a whole community for that game itself. And there's a whole community out there for wrestling, for Call of Duty, for NHL hockey, Madden, all that type of stuff. So there's something for everybody on Twitch. And obviously this show is on Twitch. And we are on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and maybe moving to Twitter somewhere down the line, but I don't know about that. But anyways, I'm going to call it a night, guys. I appreciate everybody watching. You can check me out here on Twitch at twitch.tv/thewrestlingangle1. I want to put out one thing about my YouTube page. If you're searching for my YouTube page, if you write the Wrestling Angle 1 in all one word, so that's the Wrestling Angle and the number 1, it pops up with my logo. Not this logo that I have up there. It's a different one that I use for the YouTube page, but it says the Wrestling Angle on it. Any subscriptions there, obviously, are, basically it's just this show. I use it as for people to go and watch the recap. So, you can check out my Facebook page. I'm also always posting stuff on there, news basically coming from the dirt sheets. Close Fist puts out a lot of stuff. I like to put out a lot of indie announcements, because the indie promotions really need to get their names out there, and they're going to start running shows again. So the more I get their names out there, and the more shows like the Close Fist put their names out there, the better. I want to give a shout out to I gave a shout out on my last show to this, but I want to give a shout out to Chris Gullo and his co-host for rediscovering the indies. You can check it out where you can get any podcast. Give it a listen, guys. It's really interesting. These guys really take the time to go back and research. Their very first show was on the NWA title, starting from the time the franchise Shane Douglas dropped the belt down to going forward. And it's a really good show. I mean, they really take the time to do their research on it. And I give those guys a lot of props, because I don't think I would be able to do that. But I find it interesting to listen to it, but to actually do the research for that, that would probably take up way too much of my time. So I want to give a shout out to those guys. So you can check out my my page, my Facebook page, The Wrestling Angle 1. I'm always shooting up news on there from the different sites that I get my news from. You can check me out on Instagram at ECW, the number 4, and it's LFE, so ECW for life. And you can check me out on Twitter, same thing, ECW, the number 4, and it's LFE, so ECW for life. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And I will have my recap show for AEW and NXT probably one Wednesday night and the next one on Thursday morning. So you can look forward to that. I will definitely send out a tweet and a reminder on my Facebook page. So as far as that, everybody have a good night, and I will see everybody soon. Have a good night, guys.